Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
It's The In Show, Australia's only show dedicated to innovation from Adelaide, Australia and across the globe.
You're with Troy Sincock and David Grice, and The In Show is all about highlighting startups and other businesses that are doing some really amazing things.
Yeah, we're trying to get in at the ground floor when people are forming the idea, beginning their startup, so you can find out about the next ideas before they become a reality.
And we want to hear from inspirational leaders and business owners that are doing incredible things and expanding their businesses to employ people, not only locally, but around the world.
And what I've loved about some of the inspiration we've got from the people we've talked to on the show thus far has been they extend to life a lot of the times. Here's people that are absolutely immersed in getting a business up and running, the struggles associated with that, but they've still got to keep their life in check. You know, these are people with families and doing all sorts of other things in life. So it's been fascinating to hear how people navigate their way through juggling all these high-level activities.
Yeah, and the one thing that seems to bond all these guys together is just the immense amount of passion that they have.
That seems to be the thing that really gets the idea in motion, is finding that thing that you're really invested in and being able to see what good it can do at the other end.
This week we're talking to Terry Goldwood, Managing Director of Techstars here in Adelaide, and we're going to hear from Ashley Manuel, Growing with Gratitude. Now this program, Troy, is just one of these ones where simple, small steps that you can make in your life can actually make a big difference over time.
I'm really looking forward to talking to him. And of course, Claire will have more news, including a story, especially for all the girls whose husbands complain about those long shopping expeditions. That is definitely one to listen out for.
Yes, I'm sure my wife would love to listen to that one too.
It's The In Show. It's all about innovation. You can find us at theinshow.online on Facebook and Twitter. Now here's Sam Conway, founder and CEO of Zagami, with some inspiration to kick off the show about how to access capital and his startup story.
Access to capital is obviously one of the biggest issues, especially for Australian startups. How do you find that overseas? Is it something that you find is easier to come by, or is it still the similar sort of struggle to gain the capital?
It is definitely easier to come by. There's certainly a lot more high net worth individuals over there. There are certainly a lot more VC funds. And there are also funds that support university spin-outs as well. So one of our main investors is OSI. And OSI are quite a significant fund within the Oxford ecosystem. They're not very old. We were, I think, their second or third investment.
Right.
That was for our initial round of investment where we got the £500,000. So they are still learning and they're new. But what they do have is significant amount of capital. I think they initially had over £300 million to invest in Oxford spin-out companies, and now that's moved on from that, and I think it's around the 500 now. So
wow.
Quite a significant amount of money to invest in Oxford spin-outs. So they're looking for great technology, great teams, great leaders, and people who can really build these companies. And then the other fund that we've got is Parkwalk, which is another investment fund. They're based in London. Similar in the fact that they've got a lot of organisations that have supported them, put money into them. I also have Google Ventures putting money into them. So, you know, there's all these whole ecosystem to really support startups and spin-out companies. But you do have to be on the money with respect to what you're pitching. You can't be vague. You really do have to have a good, solid business plan. And, you know, these are the things that are really challenging. It's all right when you've got technology that is very pinpoint, you know, whether it's in the pharmaceutical industry or biotech or whatever it is. But when you're dealing with platform technology, that's where it starts to get a bit challenging. So, and that's the position that we've been in.
The In Show, in the news with Claire Murphy.
Cheers, David and Troy. We've got a very strange mix of stories about Star Wars, gardening and human storage pods today. If you haven't heard, Disney has announced possibly one of the coolest things ever. I'll sum it up for you in a few simple words. Star Wars Immersive Hotel. Disney will be building an immersive Star Wars hotel at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. The announcement was made during the D23 Expo in LA, which is a celebration of all things Disney, and the details are being slowly revealed. So, what do we know so far? Well, all the employees will be in character, complete with costumes. Every guest will have their own storyline, and it will be set on a spacecraft. So when you look out the windows, you'll see space. This definitely sounds way cooler than your standard hotel. Disney's chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resort Parks, Bob Chapek, is calling it the most experiential concept ever. and has described it as a luxury resort with immersion in an authentic environment. Disney's also announced they'll be building 2 themed areas at the Florida and California parks, which will be called Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. A robotics company in the US has created a robot that can weed your garden. Franklin Robotics has invented a solar-powered, weatherproof 4-wheeled robot that can move around your garden and kill weeds without using harsh chemicals. It's a small machine called Turtle. So how does it know which plants are weeds? Well, it uses a height-based approach, which means the smaller plants that fit under the robot's circular shell will activate a sensor that starts up the weed cutter. Any plant or obstacle that's taller than the turtle's shell activates another sensor which makes the robot move away. If you happen to have baby plants, you can use one of the provided plant collars, which are tall enough to make the robot turn the other way. As the turtle roams your garden every day, the weeds only ever grow a small amount before they're cut down. Eventually, the weeds die because they don't have enough time to grow leaves to replenish the energy needed to sprout again. The developers are also looking at how they could link the robots to automated sprinkler systems. And a mall in China has introduced husband storage pods. They've been specifically designed for husbands who accompany their wives to the mall, even though they really hate shopping. Basically, it's a large glass pod that has a comfy chair and a selection of 90s video games that you can play. At the moment, you can use the pods without paying, but plans are underway to introduce a charge that can be paid using your smartphone. So far, there's been some interesting suggestions about how the pods could be improved. These include linking the pods to a network so that users can play multiplayer games, installing air conditioners and putting in vending machines. A few Chinese media outlets are saying the pods are popular, but there's quite a heated debate going on across social media platforms. On one hand, some say it's a great way to get partners to go to the shops with their spouses. On the other, some say it's pointless because they won't get to spend time with their partner anyway because they'll be disappearing into the pods. Guys, what are your thoughts? And that's what's in news this week.
Thanks, Claire. Husband storage pods. David, what do you think about that?
I think the word storage is an interesting concept, just honestly. But I know plenty of blokes out there that just hate going to the shops and having to walk around and all that sort of thing. And I think, well, this is kind of an interesting idea. I mean, I don't mind having a wander around with my wife, but there are times, especially with a small child, that you just want to sit back, relax. And I think this is a fantastic idea.
We're talking about kids because, I avoid this at all costs. I just find a way to do my own thing, if the woman in my life is shopping. So that's never been a problem. But it does make me think back to when I was a kid. And, when your parents had to do the shopping, and it used to just, it felt like an eternity. You were waiting around for them to try on clothes and do all sorts of things. Yeah. So I hope these pods aren't exclusively for husbands, but they might be for kids as well.
Well, I mean, with games in them, you would hope so, wouldn't you? I mean, I had an experience when I was a kid, I remember, where I was going through Big W, I think, with my mum. And I'm looking around at the kids' things in the shop, and I was, a few aisles away from where she was. And the next thing I hear this voice, "Hey, David, do you want a new pair of undies?" And I just sort of squirmed down behind the rack and just tried to, that's not me.
So this way the pods will avoid those embarrassing conversations as well. Sounds like a great idea, and sounds like something that no doubt is going to be implemented really soon. And who knows, we might even start seeing it in the city of Adelaide.
I know. I think maybe we can talk to the Rundle Mall Management Authority and just see if they can pop a couple down the end of the mall.
That's a great idea. It's all about innovation on the In Show. Next, our Innovator of the Week, we'll tell you about how teaching kids about gratitude can transform our world and change students' lives.
Adelaide is starting to be recognised as a smart city, nationally and globally. The City of Churches is rapidly gaining a reputation as the city for innovation. Smart city innovation is becoming a big part of our future. The Adelaide Smart City Studio is supporting people that are creating new smart city products and services for global markets. What we've taken for granted is now being embraced by residents and visitors alike. Station sponsor, Adelaide Smart City Studio, creating opportunities.
It's Troy Sincock and David Grice on The In Show. You can find our full interviews at theinshow.online. And in the next 10 minutes, we'll talk to Techstars Managing Director Terry Gold about what brought him to Adelaide.
The In Show Innovator of the Week. Thanks to our sponsor, Adelaide Smart City Studio.
Yep, this segment is dedicated to discovering the hidden gems in innovation and finding out exactly how they got going.
Joining us is Ashley Manuel from Growing with Gratitude. And Troy, I'm really excited to have Ashley here because his story around what simple steps children can make to empower their lives in the future is just profound. So welcome, Ashley. Tell us about your career, how you got into teaching, and then what sort of led you on the path of developing what you now have as Growing with Gratitude.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. It's a really, I guess, it's a bit of an interesting story. I never expected to be a teacher. I had no interest whatsoever, but I guess out of high school, I realised I wanted to be an AFL footballer, but it never worked out. So I had to choose another career after that. So I went to university to do marketing. Lasted five weeks before basically Hex kicked in. So got out in time, and then in that year, because I took the rest of that year off, and in that year I started to do coaching clinics for football and cricket at primary schools, and actually really enjoyed it. And I thought, well, if I'm enjoying this, I think PE teacher would be a great role. So I deferred university for that year and ended up doing primary school teaching, junior primary and primary school, specialising in PE, and then came out at the end of that. From where I am now, it's I guess I came across the way of thinking that life's too short to do the one thing in your whole career. So I wanted to explore some different ways to live on your terms. And I didn't know exactly what that would look like. So I looked into property investing, but that was more of a long-term strategy. And then I realised that you can actually, I guess, create your own business to live on your terms if you create enough value and help enough people, and people willing to pay for your service. Along that journey, I read a couple, I guess, key books that really helped me understand and create a path to do that. So I really resonated with that philosophy about just doing daily little activities over time. So I knew if I wanted to go from teaching to something else, it wasn't going to happen overnight. But if I just worked on it daily, day after day, week after week, month after month, it didn't have to be hours and hours a day, just short blocks of time. It would build up and get to where I want to go.
Is this something that kind of evolved for you, or was it something that you actually planned to get to this point?
That's a good question. It's sort of evolved because I think in schools, what happened there was, or still happening, is there was a big push for well-being and positive education, in particularly in primary schools. But a lot of schools were unaware of how to teach it. And Manuel, we were in that same boat. We were trying to find the best way to teach it. We did it. Our administration staff did a really good job of putting teachers through the training of why positive education is really important to teach children. But the next step is we know the importance of it, but now how do we teach it?
Yeah.
And that's a really big gap that I felt was in primary schools. And some of the stuff that came out was just doing these little daily positive habits, like writing something you're grateful for, reflecting on the best parts about your day, exercise, acts of kindness, showing empathy. But what I actually learned was that those habits only come through practice. It's like a skill. It's like learning a sport.
Actually, I'm going through some training myself at the moment, and every moment I have a breakthrough, I keep thinking, imagine if I knew this 20, 30 years earlier. There's often that debate about what's the role of the teacher and what's the role of the parent. Are you trying to connect the dots there somehow through this?
It's a tough question. I think it's up to the school and family to work together, and that's one of the things that we've actually, I guess, identified, is that there is a Growing with Gratitude family version as well. We're sort of offering it as a package. When a school comes a part of the program, they get the family version as well, so they can share that with their families. So the school and families are working together. And
given the societal issues around mental health and those sorts of things at the moment, what you're doing with children is hopefully going to be the thing that sets them up so that those issues that they may face down the track might, be less likely to occur, which I think is just absolutely astounding. It's brilliant.
What's really exciting too, actually, is that, like you said, you're taking out of the traditional classroom, you're bringing into the family environment, but you've also got a strategic partnership with the Crows.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
The way that actually, that was quite interesting. The way that came about was just as I actually had the idea of Growing with Gratitude, I had a friend who worked at the government through the Premier's Be Active Challenge, which is still around, and the Crows contacted him to see if they knew anything about this wellbeing, positive education in schools, and that wasn't really their department. But my friend Nick referred the Crows to me, and it was a really good. Well, probably been the case of being in the right place at the right time. But I guess you've got to take that bit of luck when it comes. So what we did, we came in and collaborated and discussed how this could look. But that was the first, I guess, real major partnership we developed to take it out to schools in South Australia. So they go out and present, call it the 5 Habits of Happiness. They do a presentation, they do a quiz, give out some prizes. Very little about the actual club. It's about providing a really good message, and it's had a huge take up by schools. So last year we visited 200 schools in Adelaide
Adelaide and South Australia, so some regional areas as well. And that reached about 40,000 students.
Wow.
And this year we'll do maybe 175 to 200, which is another 30 or 40,000. And it's a really good way. In terms of business model, it's been perfect because they go out there, present the program, and then I come in afterwards as a follow-up and say, look, we've actually got a whole school approach. It's all online. Do you want to take a look, basically?
Yeah, magnificent. Tell us about how important just partnerships generally have been to the business.
Oh, everything. I think it's something that I thought I could do on my own when I first started. That was a bit naive coming in from a teaching background, and I thought, I guess it was probably from a greedy point of view. If I partner with people, then I won't get to keep everything. But then I soon realised, well, if you don't partner with people, you're not going to make anything. So I think the partnerships has been the most crucial thing, and of late we've developed some more partnerships as well. So we got the great one with the Crows, got one with the Darren Lehman Cricket Academy. Under that banner, they've got something called Sport and Education. We've got programs that we're taking to India, and hopefully can be duplicated anywhere. So the first model's for India, and then so that's been a really good partnership. So
Ashley, thanks so much for joining us today. Really unbelievably inspirational story. We have one final question for you. What's in for you right now?
I actually believe, from a teaching point of view, I actually believe that teaching is going to go to an artificial intelligence situation where computers are going to be actually teaching lessons, and the teachers will just be there for support. So I think there'll be a role for teachers, but it won't be so much instruction and the actual implementation of teaching. It'll be more of that support using the artificial intelligence technology. And I truly believe that's where it's going to go. And from all the reports, I mean, this might be, 10, 20 years down the track. People like it or not, it's just reality. It will happen one day, and teachers' role will probably be different. So I think that's the way that it is going at the moment, for sure.
The world is changing rapidly. Ashley, you're a very, very inspiring man. Congratulations on growing with gratitude, and thanks so much for joining us on The In Show.
Thanks, Dave and Troy. Thank you.
The In Show, it's all about innovation. We'll hear from our influencer next and find out how Adelaide and other cities across Australia are growing and becoming even better places for entrepreneurs to start their own companies.
Adelaide is starting to be recognised as a smart city, nationally and globally. The City of Churches is rapidly gaining a reputation as the city for innovation. Smart city innovation is becoming a big part of our future. The Adelaide Smart City Studio is supporting people that are creating new smart city products and services for global markets. What we've taken for granted is now being embraced by residents and visitors alike. Station sponsor, Adelaide Smart City Studio, creating opportunity.
It's The In Show with Troy and David. It's all about innovation, and shortly Claire returns with the networking events, meetups and info sessions you can check out this week.
The In Show with this week's influencer.
This segment is all about those influential minds disrupting industries and spearheading innovation.
We're joined this morning by Terry Gold, Managing Director of Techstars Adelaide, who have not only set up their national base here, but they've just commenced their first program in Australia. So welcome, Terry.
Thanks a lot. Great to be here.
So can you tell us just quickly how you came to be here in Adelaide? You're obviously, based on your accent, you're not from these parts, so I'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, I'm originally from Kentucky in the U.S., but spent the last 25 years in Boulder, Colorado. And I met Jana Matthews and Brad Feld there, some names you might know. But Jana is the head of the Center for Business Growth down at UniSA. I came over to be a mentor a couple of times, and then just over a year and a half ago, she asked if I wanted to come live in Adelaide. 94 days later, my wife and I were living here. Wow. And then about 4 months ago, I got the chance to take on the managing director role of Techstars Adelaide, the first Techstars accelerator in Australia.
I'm sure, Terry, listeners would like to know what Techstars is all about. What exactly do you do?
Well, basically, we're a global network that helps entrepreneurs succeed. In Australia, many people haven't heard of Techstars, but they've heard of Startup Weekend and Startup Week, and that's a part of Techstars. So we help get people into entrepreneurship and startups. Then we have 30 global accelerators around the world that does what it says. It helps them accelerate their companies. We were one of the first accelerators in the world. And then we have a venture arm also that invests in follow-on investments in these companies.
So are you helping raise investment for these companies, or is it just that program that takes them from one spot to another?
Yeah, I'm more like a co-founder in that they come into the program, and I help them get organized, help them with their pitches, help them think about how the company's going to grow. Really, the biggest thing they get is access to the Techstars network. So, they say, I need to talk to somebody at an American cable company, and I know people I can call that can get me to them. And then at the end of the program, 13 weeks, which will be October 12th, we do a demo day where they'll pitch to local and overseas investors, and many of them will raise money.
Where did the idea spring from, Terry? Was it yourself trying to pursue business and finding roadblocks and not knowing where to find the answers?
Well, I'm not a founder of Techstars. The way I came to Techstars is 10 years ago. Some local guys in Boulder, Colorado, wanted to do something to bring startups into Boulder and help build the ecosystem. And I got called and asked if I'd be a mentor. Now, all of our mentors are volunteers, so it's just like, sure, I'll come help. And I think back and I wonder if I had not answered that call and agreed to volunteer, would I even be in Australia at this point? Probably not.
It's amazing that volunteering can then result in a career. Of course, being involved in the radio station that we are, we're largely run by volunteers, and it's extraordinary to think that, we could be involved in creating careers in the same way a career was created for you.
We have thousands of volunteers around the world as part of the Startup Weekend. I mean, that's just almost all volunteers. And then the mentors volunteer. But it often pays back. So our core value is give first. You give first with no expectation of being paid back, but it certainly has for me. And we have mentors who are now CEOs of large companies that they started out when it was 2 people, fell in love with the founders, and then helped them really get going.
Amazing.
Fantastic. Is this a space that you've been involved in for your entire career, or is this something that sort of has developed over time?
I started my company with a co-founder. I'd been a software developer at AT&T Bell Labs doing communication software. We started the company and were really lonely for the first 5 years. We didn't know any other entrepreneurs. And then Brad Feld, who's now a well-known venture capitalist in Colorado, in the world really, came to Colorado and started a group called the Young Entrepreneurs Organization. Now, that as EO today because as we've all gotten older, they've dropped the Y. That was the beginning. I started mentoring other entrepreneurs who thought I knew something about what I was doing. I was still pretty clueless, but you try to help where you can. So I think that's what it was. As an entrepreneur, it was just a lot of fun to help other startups and get my head out of my own business. And now here it is. It's my job to mentor and to help people.
I know that a lot of business leaders have a lot of difficulty unwinding and sort of relaxing. What I know you've got some music in you. What is something that you love to do to just unwind and let it go?
I exchanged an email yesterday with a Boulder artist, and he was talking about playing and being creative. And I've always had that in my life. And even at the most stressful times, I would turn to the wall in my office and pick up a guitar or a mandolin and play, and that always helped me reduce the stress. So a lot of entrepreneurs are just 24/7, just so focused, and it can ruin their lives. I mean, so I still struggle with it. Right now is a pretty stressful and busy time for me as I've got 10 companies that have come to Adelaide, and they all need my help. And
they've come from all around Australia as well, haven't they?
80% of our applications, 49 countries, wanted to come to Adelaide to be a part of this. So I had to pick them first with help. We had to narrow it down to 10, then get them here, help them get visas and get settled, and now helping them build their company and make the most out of this 13 weeks.
It's exciting when you see that growth and development, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. Even when we've already had a few that have had real issues, like something goes wrong back home at the company, or they didn't get a customer they hoped they would. And I've seen so much of this before. It's gratifying to be able to sit there with them and say, I've been through this. I've had people quit. I've had customers get mad at me. Let's talk about how you're going to get through this.
So have you got your guitar and mandolin in the office in Adelaide here?
I brought it in this morning. I really did, because I wasn't getting to play it at home, and I'm hoping I can find a guitar player I can teach some bluegrass to.
Cool.
All right, Terry, well, obviously there's some pretty exciting developments worldwide at the moment, but what's in for you right now?
We saw a lot of companies doing drone stuff, doing cyber. I think the biggest threat and opportunity is probably autonomous vehicles, both in the air and on the ground, mostly on the ground. I was pretty gratified to see the Lord Mayor, who I understand you had in here, talking about this a few months ago, because the effect on cities, if autonomous vehicles really take off, it's going to be massive. Like huge shifts in revenue. You won't need as many parking garages. The streets won't need to be as wide, which is hard to believe right now when they're packed with vehicles. But when we get real autonomous vehicles, and I think 5-10 years, we'll see it, everything's going to change.
Yeah, and I mean, Boeing even a month ago announced that they're going to have a commercial flying car by the end of this year. So,
I'm getting to work with them. We have corporate partners as part of Techstars Adelaide. So we have Boeing, Saab, Codan, and Thales, and they're being great mentors. And I think some of our startups could end up affecting some of the things they do in the future. I'm sure they will.
Well, we look forward to seeing what comes out of the program this year, and if it's okay, we'd love to touch base with you at the end of the program, and perhaps we might even get a chance to interview some of the participants.
You should come to Demo Day, October 12th. Let me know. I'll get you passes, and you can come in and meet all the founders. We have some really cool things going on with them.
Terry Gold of Techstars, thanks so much for joining us on The In Show.
Thanks a lot.
It's all about innovation on The In Show. You can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and hear our interviews in full at theinshow.online.
What's in Adelaide, in Australia, and innovation?
There's a whole swag of events on this week. Here's just a few of the highlights. If you're interested in finding out what the SA market is up to, head to the Hilton Hotel on South Road for this morning's breakfast with the Chief Economist at Domain, Dr. Andrew Wilson. Registrations are essential, so head to the InShow website for more. Tonight, kicking off at 5 p.m, Innovation in the City presents the Internet of Things and Your Opportunity at the Royal Hotel, featuring a message from Will Riley, Marketing Director of IBM. Will your idea work as a business? On Tuesday, the City of Marion's hosting a workshop aimed at entrepreneurs who have an idea or product but haven't yet established a business. This one's at the Hallett Cove Civic Centre starting at 5:30. The City of Charles Sturt is throwing the spotlight on Wayne Duffy, Managing Director Dulwich Bakery, who owns multiple bakeries within the City of Charles Sturt. The Stand Still and Stagnate session will be held on Wednesday from 5:30 at the Ramsgate Hotel Dining Room. And if you're an ambitious small business owner committed to growing your business and would love to double your revenue in the next 12 months, and let's face it, who wouldn't? Head to the How to Generate Revenue in Your Business session on Thursday from 10:30 till 12 p.m. Head into the events page on the InShow website for registration details. Before you head to your next event, download the Phoner app. Find people easier and market yourself better all using station sponsor Phoner on your mobile.
Thanks, Claire. And if you've got an event you'd like us to highlight, just drop us a line at theinshow.online.
Next week on The In Show.
Next week, we've got another bumper show lined up with more influential minds joining us. And as usual, Claire will be bringing us news from around the world and highlighting all the cool events going on. And make sure you check out theinshow.online.
Yeah, there you can listen to our podcast. You can find out more about this week's guests, share an innovation you're working on. We really want to hear from you. And you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, that just about wraps us up for this week, Troy. We'll catch you all again next Monday for some more innovation on The In Show.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.